Welcome to Night Fright. Good evening. Tonight I've got a chilling collection of cryptid and alien stories that will leave you questioning what's real and what's not. Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments. I wish I could remember exactly where it is, but I can't. This story was sent to me by Alex, and I'm going to let him tell it in his own words. This happened on Halloween night in 2014. I was driving home from a party around midnight, headed to my parents' place out in the suburbs. They live in a quiet neighborhood where the houses are spaced apart, with big front yards and tall trees. I wasn't tea-drunk or anything, just a little tired from the night, but something made me stop halfway across the yard. It's the only tree in the yard, and I know that tree like the back of my hand. But there was something standing behind it. Their house sits back about 20 feet from the road, and by the time I pulled up, every light inside was off. But then, I saw it more clearly. It was tall, easily 7, maybe 8 feet, and pale, like a bluish-white glow was coming off its skin. It looked like it had been sculpted out of wax, then left too long in the sun. My first thought was still, this has to be some kind of Halloween prop, something the neighbors put out, but why would they put it in our yard? Not shining, just faint enough to stand out against the darkness. It had a human-like shape, but its proportions were ... wrong. It took 3 long, natural strides from behind the tree and glided toward the side of the house, like its feet barely touched the ground. The way it moved didn't make any sense. It was fast, too fast, like watching video footage sped up 3 times. Once I got inside, I slammed the door and locked every bolt we had. But even inside, I couldn't relax. I had this crawling sensation on my neck like something was watching me from every shadow, every window. Its arms swayed, too long and loose, like they had no bones, and then it vanished around the side of the house. It was far too thin, with freakishly long arms and legs and fingers that hung down almost to its knees. The porch was dark, the windows black. Clearly they'd already gone to bed. I parked by the curb, locked my car, and started walking across the open lawn toward the front door. Every time I glanced at a mirror or the dark glass of a window, I expected to see it. That pale, faceless thing, standing there, waiting. I noticed movement near the big evergreen tree that stands off to the left side of the yard, near the property line with the neighbors. But deep down, I know what I saw. I froze. Keys still in my hand, mid-step across the lawn, just staring. At first I thought it might be a person, or maybe even a Halloween decoration someone had set up as a joke. It had no face. No eyes, no mouth. Just a smooth, stretched surface where features should be. Then its head started to twitch. Not turn. Twitch. A fast, unnatural movement. Like it was shivering or glitching. Little side-to-side jerks, like something malfunctioning. That's when it moved. It didn't walk like a person. It didn't even run. No sound. No rustling leaves. No crunching grass. Nothing. I stood there, heart pounding in my ears, until I forced myself to sprint to the front door and fumble with the lock. I couldn't sleep. I tried convincing myself it was just some prank or a leftover decoration, or that maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. And it wasn't anything human. This story was sent to me by Eric, and I'm going to let him tell it himself. I used to work as a night security guard at a corporate office complex out in northern Arizona, the kind of job where you clock in at sunset, walk around empty hallways for hours, and clock out right before the sun peaks over the horizon. Most nights were dead quiet. I do my rounds, check the door locks, jot a few notes in my logbook. The complex sits right at the edge of the desert, surrounded by low hills and nothing but open sky for miles. Yeah, normally it's peaceful. Still, but this time as I stepped out for my 3rd patrol, the air had that heavy, static feel. Like just before a lightning storm, only the sky was perfectly clear. Not a single cloud in sight. Maybe sit in the booth and sip lukewarm coffee, while watching security feeds that rarely showed anything more exciting than a rabbit hopping past the lot. But that night, that one October night, something was off. I remember it clearly. It was late, maybe 2:15 in the morning. I walked the perimeter like always, checked the east gate, gave the parking lot a once-over, even paused to admire the stars for a bit. More like ... glitching. Its head jerked side to side in these tiny rapid spasms, almost too fast to follow, and then, without warning, it moved. I remember thinking how unusually quiet everything was. No wind, no insects, no hum from the power lines. No crunch of gravel, no rush of displaced air, just a blur of motion that felt wrong, like it was skipping across reality instead of existing in it. I stood there panting, staring out through the window, but whatever it was gone. Just silence so deep it made my own footsteps sound intrusive. But then I noticed something on the camera by the maintenance shed. That blank, smooth face, those long arms at its side. It's tall, unmoving, just barely visible in the low light cast from the far pole. I squinted, took a few cautious steps forward, but it didn't move. I called out, "Hey, this is private property," but got nothing in return. No reaction at all. Then I saw something. At first I thought it was a person standing out near the fence line. And I have no doubt, if I hadn't locked myself inside, I wouldn't be here to tell this story now. So I reached for my flashlight, clicked it on, and aimed it toward the figure. That's when my stomach dropped. It wasn't a person, not really. It stood maybe 7, 8 feet tall, rail thin with impossibly long limbs that didn't look like they had bones at all. Its skin, if you could call it that, was pale, almost translucent, like stretched wax, and its face, I don't even know how to describe it. No eyes, no mouth, just smooth and featureless, like someone had pressed a sheet over a mannequin's head. I froze. The beam of my flashlight trembled in my hand as this thing, whatever it was, began to twitch. Not like a shiver, not walked, moved. In 3 jerking, gliding strides, it crossed the lot and slipped behind the maintenance shed. It moved too fast for its size, and too silently. My body kicked in before my brain did. I turned and ran back to the security booth, slammed the door, and locked it behind me. I checked the feeds. Nothing. Just empty black and white images of still parking lots and locked doors. I told myself I imagined it, that the sleep deprivation and the desert silence had played tricks on me. For one frame, just one, the feed flickered. And in that single frame, you could see it, standing completely still facing the camera. I printed that frame, but by morning, it had faded. The paper was blank. The footage, corrupted. I didn't work another shift there. Whatever I saw that night wasn't human, wasn't supposed to be there. This story was sent to me by Nathan, and here it is, exactly how he experienced it. It was a weekday in early fall. I remember because the air had that crispness, like summer was just letting go. I'd just gotten off work and was heading straight to my girlfriend's house for dinner. She still lived with her mom, her grandmother, and her little sister. Just the 4 of them in that house. That night felt completely normal. I helped set the table when I got there. We ate dinner as a family, shared some laughs, nothing unusual. After we cleaned up, my girlfriend and I went up to her room. We just lay there talking for a while, made some loose plans for the weekend, watched TV, nothing weird, nothing to set off alarm bells. Eventually it got late and I had to work early the next morning, so I decided to head out. I threw on my jacket, kissed her goodnight, and made my way downstairs. Now, to get to the front door, you had to pass through the kitchen, down a long hallway. As I stepped into the kitchen, I froze. I didn't hear anything. I just saw it. A tall, robed figure with leathery brown skin and a face that looked like a reptile, cold, unmoving. But I still couldn't move. I couldn't even blink. Its eyes locked on mine, and I swear it knew I could see them. They were small, maybe 4 feet tall, incredibly thin with long, gangly arms and even longer necks. Not into another room, through the wall, like it was made of smoke. I didn't feel fear the way you'd expect. It was more like my brain disconnected. Like everything just stopped making sense. Their skin, or suits, I'm not sure, was pitch black and smooth, stretched tight over their bodies. That her father left years ago because of it. He couldn't deal with what he'd seen. And she said she was scared that one day it wouldn't bring her sister back. No seams, no wrinkles. Just this eerie, slick surface like latex or something, but alive. No memory of what happened. No idea how she got there. Their heads were big, like oversized melons, and slightly tilted forward, like they didn't need to look up to know where they were going. Sometimes she'd disappear from her bed and be found curled up in random parts of the house. There were 2 figures in front of me, leading her little sister toward the front door, fully dressed. No idea how I got there, and when I sat up, it all came flooding back. Every single detail. But I never forgot that moment. Standing in the kitchen, completely paralyzed. As those three things walked her sister through a wall like it meant nothing, their bodies, the way they moved, the silence, the look on the tall one's face. They moved in sync, silent and deliberate, like they'd done this 100 times before. And that's when she told me something that still gives me chills to this day. He stepped out from the same bedroom they had just exited and followed behind them like he was in charge. I couldn't move. It was like my body had been unplugged, like I was watching this happen from underwater. Then another one stepped out behind them. This one was taller, much taller, and completely different. He wasn't like the small ones at all. He looked like a lizard. I know how that sounds. That's exactly what I saw. That moment, when it looked at me, made every single hair on my body stand straight up. And then they walked right through the front wall, not through the door. Her little sister was in the middle of them, moving like she was in a trance. No resistance, no struggle, just gone. I blacked out. The next thing I remember, I was waking up in my girlfriend's bed upstairs. I ran downstairs and told my girlfriend everything. I couldn't hold it in. She said it had been happening since she was a kid. She said they never talked about it, not outside the family, but that her little sister had always been the one they came for. That same morning, we found out the neighbors had called the cops around 3 a.m. They found her little sister lying naked in the front yard. After that night, weird things started happening more often. Lights flickering, doors slamming, her sister sleepwalking. I stayed with my girlfriend for about a year after that, and I saw a few more strange things. Nothing ever that extreme again. That night broke something in me. This story was sent to me by Jacob, who said it something he never talked about before, not even with his closest friends. So I've only told one person this story, and even then, I regretted saying it out loud. It happened back in 2014 on Halloween night. I was coming home late from a party, sometime around midnight. I pulled up to my parents' place, parked by the curb like always. Their house sits about 15, maybe 20 feet back from the road, nestled in a quiet neighborhood. I figured they'd already gone to bed since all the lights were off, and everything looked pitch black. I locked the car and stepped out. The air crisp, the kind of stillness you only get on cold nights. I started walking across the yard toward the front door when I saw something that made me stop cold, fast, like something glitching. Behind the trunk, partially hidden, was something tall, easily 7, maybe even 8 feet tall. I finally broke free of whatever grip that moment had on me and ran inside, slammed the door, locked it, turned on every light in the living room. I couldn't shake the feeling I was still being watched. Every window, every mirror in that house gave me the creeps. I felt eyes on me all night. I couldn't sleep. Skin, if that's what you could call it, was pale, almost bluish white, and seemed to give off a faint glow. It wasn't faking, and it wasn't human, not bright, just enough that I could see it against the darkness. There's this big old evergreen tree off to the left, right near the property line between our house and the neighbors. That's where it was. It was shaped like a human, but wrong. Way too thin. Its arms and legs were stretched unnaturally long, and the fingers were even longer, like they could wrap around a steering wheel twice. No face, no real features, just this smooth, elongated figure that didn't belong in the real world.
Ow.
My whole body just froze, and then it moved. At first I thought maybe it was some Halloween decoration. Maybe the neighbors went all out this year or something. But it wasn't moving, just standing there. So I stood there too, staring at it, keys still in my hand, trying to figure out what I was looking at. It's when its head started moving. Not like a slow turn. It twitched, side to side. I didn't even breathe. In 3 long, fast strides, it stepped out from behind the tree and glided across the yard toward the side of the house. I swear it didn't even walk. It stretched through the air, like it wasn't bound by joints or bones, like someone pulling a rubber band and letting it snap. It was gone around the back of the house before I could even process what had just happened. But there was nothing. No sound, no sign that anything had ever been out there. And yet, I told myself maybe it was a costume, some really messed up prank. But I knew better. That thing wasn't wearing anything. I still don't know what I saw, but I know it saw me. This story was sent to me by Megan, She swears it happened exactly the way she remembers it. So this was back in 2006. I was 20 years old and it was just a normal weekday in early fall. I had just finished my shift at work and drove straight over to my girlfriend's place for dinner. I helped set the table when I got there. We all sat down together and ate. Everything was normal. After dinner, my girlfriend and I went to her room like we usually did, and they weren't alone. They had her little sister between them, like they were guiding her. We laid around for a few hours just talking, watching TV, making plans for the weekend. Nothing felt off, like she wasn't even really awake. She still lived with her family, her mom, her younger sister, and her grandmother. We had a typical evening. Couldn't breathe. My whole body went numb like I'd been separated from it. Like I was watching through thick glass or underwater. Didn't blink. Just looked straight at me as it walked by. Passed through it like it wasn't even there. And that look, I'll never forget it. Not angry. Not curious. It's just cold. Ancient sunlight coming through the window. Eventually it got late, and I had to be up early the next morning. So I said goodnight, put on my jacket, kissed her goodbye, and headed downstairs to leave. Her family knew about it but never talked about it outside the house. Not even to close friends. She said her dad had left the family when she was young because he couldn't handle it anymore. Everything. The way they moved, the way her sister looked, the lizard-like skin of that taller one. We eventually broke up, stayed in touch for a little while. Last time I spoke to her was 8 years ago. But from what I heard, things in that house only got worse. I felt like I was going to throw up. Now, her house had this long hallway that led through the kitchen and out to the front door. I was halfway through the kitchen when I stopped. They moved like they'd done this 100 times. Silent, practiced, deliberate. They were wearing tight black suits that didn't look like clothes. No seams, no zippers. She had no memory of how she got there. Just a smooth second skin wrapped around their strange, lanky bodies. Her sister began sleepwalking more and more, and they defined her in random corners of the house, curled up, completely unaware of how she got there. Not because I heard anything, but because of what I saw. If I were hearing it from someone else, I'm not sure I'd believe them either. But I was there. I saw it. I felt it. That moment. Watching three things walk a little girl through a wall like it was nothing, it's burned into me. Two figures not human were walking toward the front door. These things were about 4 feet tall, skinny as hell, and had long, thin arms and weirdly extended necks. Their heads were oversized, shaped like melons, tipped slightly forward, like they didn't need to look up to see where they were going. Her sister, she looked dazed. I just stood there. I couldn't move. Then another one stepped out behind them. I don't even know how to describe it. This one was way taller, different too, came out of the same bedroom they just exited, following them like it was in charge. And this thing, it looked like a reptile wearing a hooded cloak. Its skin was leathery and dark brown, rough-looking with scales that caught the light in weird ways. The three of them, with her little sister sandwiched in the middle, walked straight toward the front wall of the house. I think I blacked out right then. The next thing I remember, I was waking up in my girlfriend's bed upstairs, fully dressed. But the memory, it came flooding back instantly. I told my girlfriend everything right away. And to my complete shock, she didn't look surprised. She told me it had been happening for as long as she could remember, especially to her sister. Later that day, we found out their neighbor had called the house around 3 a.m. Said they'd found her sister lying naked and unconscious in the front yard. After that, weird things started happening in the house more often, lights flickering, doors opening on their own. We stayed together for another year or so. I saw other strange things, but nothing like that night. And I know how insane all of this sounds.